Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Doctors of Running podcast, where we, a group of doctors of physical therapy, discuss the art and science of running and the stuff that we put on our feet. Today at the round table, we have the founder of Doctors of Running, Dr. Matthew Klein. We have Dr. David Salas and myself. I'm Nathan Brown, and we are excited because today we get to do a really fun setup for the podcast, which is our buy or sell episodes, where we are going to be putting up an idea and we are going to either buy or sell that idea and then talk about why we fall on one side of the fence or another. It's particularly fun for us because we tend to not think of things in black and white. We have a very it depends attitude as part of our training as physical therapists. And so this brings us a little bit out of our comfort zone. But before we get to that part of the podcast, we do want to talk about the shoes we have on our feet right now. And this segment is sponsored and powered by Skratch Labs, who, if you are looking to get something when it comes to race or training, nutrition, and hydration, they've got a lot of stuff. You can use our code Doctors of Running to get 20% off your first order. But what have you all been testing? What have you had on your feet?
Yeah, I just finished writing the review for the Salomon Aeroblaze 3 today, and then also just did 13 in the ASICS GT 2014 today. So good initial impressions. I did like the shoe. It's a little bit different from the previous model, but I still really like it. Klein's smugging, which means he hates it.
He has one thing to say.
He was like, "Oh, it's like the Keanu heel," and then he's gonna be like, "Actually, but it's not at all." I'm kidding.
No, it is. It is.
But anyways, that's what I've been running in mostly. So just finished Aeroblaze, got that one going, and then would like to get a review of the Hoka Rocket X3 out if possible. I just got to get some speed runs in that. Yeah.
It's great.
What about you, Klein?
I also have the ASICS GT 2014 for those who can see this, and David did hit it on the head. It's a different shoe. It definitely is way more medially stable than the last version, like aggressively so. Forefoot is really nice. It's a little bit of that Nova Blast kind of pop off the front, but this heel, man, I'm not liking this.
More
it's
heel
like
bevel
medial wedge
situation.
No, the medial wedge is fine. That aggressive thing has been fine. It's just a little more posterior flare. Bevel's not as good as the last version, and it just doesn't. It makes me land farther forward, which is nice when I get in a rhythm. But when I'm warming up and I want to have a good, nice heel strike, it just slaps and not in a good way. I just realized I'm old enough that some people say slaps is a good thing. I'm doing this bad. So
yo, that heel bevel slaps.
Yeah, they're not in a good way. But yeah, just like a rough transition. It's heavier. Those who wanted a more cushioned shoe, I think, will like this. But I've got 30 miles on this. And ready to write the review whenever I can find time to do it. But yeah, I'm on the fence. There's some things I like and some things I don't with that shoe. The shoe that I did not expect to like, that I think I talked about last time.
Before you go into that one, I usually don't have stability shoes sent to me, but now when they do, I'm like, maybe it's one of those new age stability shoes that's not really a stability shoe. And so I put it on expecting it. And this one, I could feel like it felt like it was wedged. And I was like, this is just too much for me. So I was slightly bummed, but that means that it has a lot of like medial sided support, because I was like, this would not agree with me. And I can tell just from standing in the shoe. So
yeah, they definitely went the other direction. We're like, instead of guidance, like, no, this is a medial stability shoe, which I think is actually
that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. It's good because we didn't have as many of those. But the other shoe that I'm really enjoying that, David, I think you and I are probably going to have enough miles soon to do a review on. So I'll probably start that soon. But the Vomero Premium, I really like this shoe. Vomero Plus, thank you. I really like this shoe. I have 50 miles in this thing, and it should not work for me. It's supposed to be neutral, but it's actually, I'm able to handle this thing.
It's got pretty tall sidewalls, yeah.
The durability is doing really, really well. It's been really nice. It is, and I think I said this last time, it is what I thought the Vomero was going to be. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm loving it for a variety of different miles.
Would you say that it's the Vomero Plus?
What?
I get what he's saying.
No,
like, I wish the Vomero is this,
it's the Vomero, but plus.
But better.
No, I think it's what I was hoping the Vomero was going to be. And I was hoping that the Plus series, I think I totally this is serious. I really misunderstood where Nike was going with this, because I looked at the Pegasus series and thought, okay, inline Pegasus, right? Your standard shoe. The Pegasus Plus is the lighter, kind of more up tempo shoe, and then you have the Premium, which is like kind of crazy, like super stacked. And I thought they were going to do something similar because that's what I thought. I was really hoping they were going to do with the Structure, and we still haven't seen Structure Plus or Premium. So this is just really different. I guess I'm not understanding the variation now where they might go between the inline and the Plus model. The Premium makes sense to me. Yeah, the Premium makes sense, but yeah, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. But like, I think I was expecting a little bit more from like a much lighter weight, a little lighter ride, and the Premium was going to be the Plus was the faster, the Premium was like the super maximal. But I guess I don't understand this, to be honest.
I feel like the Plus, I don't think it is as much, because I'm with you, Matt, where like the Pegasus Plus was that supposed to be performance oriented, but I think that Plus version makes sense with what the Pegasus is. The Pegasus is like your neutral trainer, kind of versatile, and then the Plus is like, okay, faster. Vomero is like your premium trainer. Let's plus up premium. So now it's like bigger. I haven't tested that one, but I think in theory it's like it's more of what a Vomero is. It's more of what a Pegasus is. That's kind of how I'm seeing those. But then you have the Zoom Fly, which is like your performance trainer. It's like they have their own performance thing. But that's how I saw that.
It goes with the line of like the goal of the shoe. Like the Vomero is never meant to be fast.
Correct.
Right? Like it's meant to be a high stack cushioned shoe. And so when you look at the the specs, like my men's 9.5 and my Vomero 18 was right around 11 ounces on the dot. So pretty heavy, right? Like
doesn't feel that heavy, but yeah, it's heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a good amount of rubber, right? And then that Zoom X midsole is a hybrid midsole with I'm blanking on it, React X.
Yeah.
And then when you go to the Vomero Plus, now it's pure Zoom X, and the stack is just about the same. And then the weight drops down to about 10.2 ounces in my men's 9.5. Right. And the upper is a little bit more airy and premium.
Yep, that makes sense.
So like it's a Vomero Plus, right? Like that's how I see it.
Yeah. So like
it is Vomero DNA. It's just kind of enhanced a little bit.
So the similarities would be they're both like the Pegasus Plus and Vomero Plus both go to full Zoom X midsoles, which feel completely different. Again, just because you have a material doesn't mean it's exactly the same. And then the Premium is you're going to get the Zoom units, the crazier stuff. Like I can't say why. I live in Oregon. I've seen the Vomero Premium. I've held it. I put it on my feet. It's got, and everybody's seen this, it's got the two huge Zoom airbags and just like 55 now millimeters of stack height. It's of all Zoom X. So I can understand, and that's kind of similar to Pegasus Premium, where it's full length of the airbag and just a little bit more snappy. So I guess I'm just saying I'm really scared, and I'm scared but hopeful to see what happens with the Structure line, because I'm like stability, and I would just want to see what happens. But I was hoping for a light stability racing shoe, but I guess that's probably not going to happen. Yeah.
Maybe somewhere else.
Maybe.
The one new shoe, so I've been getting a lot of miles in a shoe I've talked about before. I'm writing the review right now, the Ultra Experience Flow 2. So I won't talk more about that one. But the other shoe that I've been running in is the, On Cloud Ultra Pro. And that shoe is a trail model. It's not even like super widely available. It's like only to subscribers, I believe. So it's not worth spending too much time on. But this is the second trail shoe that I've ran in that I was like, I wish the company would take this and just slap a road outsole on it, because I love running in that shoe. I did like a little over 10 on Friday in that shoe on like 80 to 90% road, like 8 or 9 of the miles were just on road. And it's just such a nice rocker, nice little bounce to it. It's soft enough, but not too soft. It wasn't unstable. I loved running in that thing, and it's not too stiff front to back. So I thought the fit was great. Like it just checked all the boxes. The other trail shoe that I want them to do this with is the Tecton X3, Hoka's trail shoe. I love the midsole on that. I did like a 5 miler on the all road out in San Francisco when I was there for a conference, and I just loved it. So those two shoes are there for me. So that's pretty much it on my end.
Can I also throw one out there that I have miles on, and I haven't said very much about it, but the Mountain Coast T1 has won me over. I have been kind of on and off, with Mount to Coast, where the P1 actually finally won me over, and it took about 80, 90 miles, and I just kept going, this has to get better. And then I figured it out. The T1, I think, is the best of all of them because A, it's still got a super durable outsole, and I have done probably 50% road miles in this shoe just because of the nature of where I live, of like not always having time to get over to a trail, so I have to run to it and pushing a stroller through the trail. But outsole is awesome. But the midsole, I think they finally dialed in. So they use a PEBA-based foam, and the previous versions have just not felt super. They felt really firm. They didn't work well until you really picked up your cadence, which mine's not very quick. But this version it's just right, where it's not a super foam. It's not firm. They just nicely in the middle. And this shoe, higher drop, rolls so nicely for longer miles. So very much still an ultra marathon type shoe. But I've got 50 miles on this, and I need to write that review. It's been great in it, but it does. If I've learned anything from Mount to Coast, they take a while to break in, but when they do, it's good.
So it's like a Boston 10 from Adidas.
Kind of. Yeah.
I love that shoe after like 50 to 75 miles.
Yeah. Yeah,
that
makes sense. Takes time. If
you're trying to get the most out of your next training cycle and you're trying to make sure that you're making the right decisions to get you to the goals that you want to achieve, sometimes it's nice to have additional tools in your tool belt. Stride has its generated workouts, which is going to personalize workouts based on the other efforts that you've put into your training before that. And so if you're wanting to have a little bit of assistance based on the data that your own body is giving you, you can check out stride.com to learn more about their generated workouts and other things that the Stride pods can help you achieve in your training and in your racing. So head on over to stride.com. That's STRYD.com to learn more. Well, great. That's what we've got on our feet. So if you want to go check out anything from Skratch, it's your first time ordering from them, you can get 20% off with the code Doctors of Running. Let's move into the buy or sell portion of this episode. We have a list of things that have been sparked by comments, things going on in the running world, things going on in the shoe industry. So we're excited to run through these. If you disagree with us, feel free to interact with us on this stuff. We'd love to hear people's opinions and why they think the way they do about these different topics. Some of them are more rehab related or having to do with injuries. Some are just about shoes. Some are about run culture. And so that's where we're going to start. We are going to be talking about run culture and things that have been going on in the running world for a long time. And it's also back in the main conversations in the running sphere. And that's this: buy or sell. Runners who use illegal performance enhancement drugs should get lifetime bans. So again, that's if they have used illegal performance enhancement drugs, they should get lifetime bans. Buy or sell?
I can go first.
Great.
I'm a sell. And I think that might come to a shock to a lot of people, but whether intentional or unintentional, people make mistakes. We're human. There's a lot of pressure that goes into high-level competition. I'm not saying it's right or that I defend it, but I do think you should have a pretty serious, I don't want to say a ban, but punishment for doing it. I think if sometimes like a year or 2 years is kind of a slap on the wrist for some of these people. Like, I think if you did like one full Olympic cycle, that's like the thing that everyone trains their entire lives for, and taking 4 years away from them is a pretty hefty amount of time when your window as a professional runner isn't the longest. So I think if you do your time, then you've done your time, you test, you're clean, then you can come back. I don't see why it should be a lifetime ban. Unless you had like multiple offenses or something and you just keep doing it. But a one-time thing, I don't think should ban someone for life.
David, can I challenge you on something?
Go for it.
There is some evidence out there that the effects of some of these performance-enhancing drugs maintain long after they have cleared out of your system, and potentially even years. Like there maybe it's in some case, I don't think permanent, but like years after taking this stuff, if you've been dosing it long enough, that it will change how you adapt to training positively. What do you think about that going, okay, you've taken it, you've dosed, and now there may be a much longer impact on your system than potentially your ban? And I want to be very clear. I am not an endocrinologist. I am not someone that is going to know the physiology behind this stuff better. This is just me being curious, me talking to people, me learning from people much smarter than me in this realm and going, oh, this actually has some interesting effects. So what about if some of these things actually last longer than the ban? I know it's usually 4 years, but what if?
Usually it's 2. Shelby's was 4. But usually it's
that's fair.
2.
Yeah, that's fair.
2 things on that. So one, the metabolites are going to stay in your system for a very long time. And we see that in a lot of professional sports where people are peeing clean, but they're pissing hot for metabolites that existed, years ago. And it's not an actual large enough effect to warrant the positive test. So then it gets scraped. But you see that a lot where the drug testing is actually better than, like, it's almost too good. And we're seeing that in some of the fighting sports. But then they look at the levels, they say, okay, well, it's positive, but it's not positive enough. Like, you know what I mean? Like something was in there, so it tripped it, but it's not enough to actually do something. And it's there because of what they had previously taken. But what I will say on the second thing, if they've been doing it long enough to warrant long-term effects beyond 4 years, that's shame on the anti-doping system. They should have been caught long before it was in their system to that point to have that much long range effect. If you're talking 5+ years of advanced, benefit from, because that's not a cycle, right? That's basically a lifetime worth of doping, just about. And again, I'm not an endocrinologist. I don't know the ins and outs of that to the degree to fully speak on that. But I think if something is positively benefiting you over 5 years later from the last day you've taken it, that's pretty crazy. You've got to have a lot of it in your system. So I feel like in order to get to that point, like, the doping system hasn't caught you for years. And that's on them for not catching you earlier.
Nathan, what do you think? I'm curious to get your opinion first.
Sure. Well, actually, I'm copping out. This is going to be my one cop out answer, and part of it's because I don't think I'm educated enough on even just the stories of this and kind of how it goes to give a worthy opinion. But I will say something, and I was talking to a colleague about this, and the idea of what if we lived in a world where people just told the truth about what they did, because. Like, and that spans beyond this kind of stuff, but like, that would be like, I don't even know what the world would look like, because we live in a world where we just try to cover up or like sugarcoat or lie straight up about pretty much any mistakes that we make. And I think if any of us are honest, we do that about our own lives all the time. Like, I know that there are times where I have tried to like sugarcoat a thing that I have done that wasn't exactly what it should have been or exactly how it should have been. And so when I think about this stuff, I'm like, we don't have a system that equitably is going to capture everybody at this point, especially in a sport like this where it's global. And it's different than like the NFL or the NBA, where everyone can be a little bit more systematized and contained. It's a little bit easier. But I don't really have an answer for this one. I think that another interesting buy or sell would be like how much, or like these sorts of scandals ruin the sport for you. I think that would be another interesting conversation to have as well. But I don't have a buy or sell for this one. I think it just kind of stinks.
Klein, are you a buy on lifetime bans?
I'm a partial buy on lifetime bans.
Partial? There's no partials.
Yeah, I think it's not partial.
You're putting a lifetime sentence on this person. You never get to do your sport again.
I'm a partial buy that I do think that if you are doped to a high enough level, that it should be absolutely not. And I think that there should be some kind of standardized, like, okay, if you are like, let's say you're caught using a masking agent, that should be like, okay, you're out of here. Like, you're done. Like, obviously you're cheating, and most of the tests are actually looking for masking agents or hormones that are not directly related to the actual substance. It's actually the response of the response that your system does to it. And I think if you're caught with a masking agent, that should be like, you're done. Okay. If you get caught with like a little bit in your system, I think that should be a short ban. Like, you know what? And I'll say this as someone who's been in that elite world and treated a variety of people and been like, hey, I need you to disclose all the stuff that you're taking to me because I need to know what's going on. I've had some complex cases, and they've just like, yeah, I got to admit, I'm taking this. And I'm like, oh, man, like it's not me to judge, HIPAA, I can't, say anything, but these aren't high level, like national level athletes. These are like locally competitive athletes that we're doing. And I'm like, really? Like, and I feel like people get competitive enough, even outside of the people not making
Should
a living
they not
from
be
this.
taking them if they're not getting tested and they're not professional and they're doing it for their own reasons?
No, but that just means it's not fair to everybody else. Like the whole point of this, I think, is about being honest and clean sport. Now, if you're doing this kind of at a lower level, then I think that there should be like, okay, like 2-year bans, stuff like that. But I think there should be some stratification of like, okay, this we've standardized to be like, okay, no more, right? Like you're done, one and done out. But other things where it's like, let's hopefully help you learn from this, like give you a 2-year or 4-year ban, but there should be some stratification. I don't think it should be like everybody gets this. It should be like some kind of system that, at a certain point you're like, no, done.
I think the stratification gets hard because that's where lying comes in, right? And like all of the stories that can just perpetuate.
Right.
And then it's like, we don't even know what's true, if they even actually took it or if somebody else like swapped out their stuff because they were set up, or like there's a million stories. And that's where it's just like, man, it's frustrating.
It's complex. Yeah. I don't have a great answer.
I agree with clean sport, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, like, I
don't
can't
want
remember
this to at all sound like I'm defending doping.
No, I can't. Like, I'm forgetting the individual's name, but like, there was a Masters runner that was like cleaning up at Masters Nationals, and turns out he was doping like crazy. And this is not like he actually won prize money, but not like professionally. But that's still like supposed to be like recreational fun, like. And the Masters athletes are listening, that what we do is not fun. It's supposed to be like competitive.
Here's
So
a question.
I respect that.
Should anybody who finishes top 5 at a race be tested?
If it's a championship or it's like a major, like even like tested. A local championship,
USATF tests.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so.
Should like local associations test, like PA, USATF, or
so not feasible.
It's not feasible.
It's not feasible.
That's the problem.
I mean, right. But like,
if we're talking pie in the sky kind of a thing.
If running made money, yes, but it doesn't. So I think at least on a national level, I think it's a different question.
So, no, David.
I'm sorry. You need to move on.
Let me go in a different direction here.
I have one other question. I've got one other question about this. And it is that second question. It's, do things like what has happened recently, but this isn't new. This is not just one story. This has happened a lot of American athletes. Does that ruin the sport for you and your enjoyment of it?
I like watching human beings doing incredible things. They're doing incredible things. It's still fun to watch. Does it take away from it? Yes. But it doesn't ruin the sport for me. I'm not going to not watch Boston or Chicago because someone doped at Chicago.
It doesn't ruin the local sport. It ruins the international competitions, which I have started to not care about. What it makes really cool for me, though, is the local, right? The U.S., like, and I'm geek,
even though they're cheating too, Matt.
Maybe what?
Yeah, even though they're cheating and not being tested.
But like the Masters National Championships, the local like USACF stuff. Like, for example, I ran the Bowerman 5K yesterday. And that was a really cool experience. Outside of the fact that I learned that I am not the fastest stroller dad out there, as I got crushed by an incredible Bowerman track club athlete. Yeah, Bowerman track club athlete who's like, I only run with the stroller once or twice a week, and then just crushed me. And so like, very impressed. But getting to toe the line and watch them take off and then watch them come around, that is what I'm more passionate about. I don't really care about the international stuff anymore because I don't believe it's clean. And I think to be at that level, you can't be clean. And the people I've talked to that eventually given up going, I can't compete with these people because I know they're doping. I've seen them in the locker rooms or what have you at like these international competitions. Like, this makes us dirty. So I want to encourage people to focus more locally because that's where I am, and going, what's the local scene like? What's that like? And it creates more of a community for me. So it's been a positive thing.
So question, you really think in order to be at that level, you have to dope?
I think to really compete for a top 3 spot, I think for majority of people that you have to dope.
Do you think Grant Fisher's doping?
And
double
Yarden
medalists
Naguse.
at the Olympics, and Yarden Naguse and Cole Hawker and those guys. We got a lot of really good Americans right now. So that statement goes pretty far.
I hope not.
You just said
really
in order
hope
to
not.
be there, like
I really hope not. And I really hope that they're the exception. I really hope. They probably don't listen to the podcast. If they do, they can comment and call me out. But I really hope they are not.
Anyways,
but they can be in line anyway.
Amazing runners.
They're amazing. They're awesome.
I would say hi to you on the street any given day.
Yeah,
absolutely. I would say for me, it hasn't ruined the sport for me. What most people probably don't know about me is that my absolute favorite sport to follow is college football. And there's been a lot of changes in college football. I thought it was
wrestling.
I do love wrestling too. But like when it comes to watching a sport and like the Badgers, I just love it. But I even got my like koozie, my Badger koozie, Bucky and I hanging out. But there's been a lot of changes in college football with the transfer portal, players moving all around. A lot of the things I've loved about college football is different right now as they try to get their footing and figure out how they're going to do all of this. But when I'm watching college football and I get to go there with my boys and like watch it, I love it. And it's like, no, I don't have as big of a connection to you because I didn't watch you get recruited and then you've been here for 3 years. It's like to each of those players, get to know in quotations because I'm just watching either in the stands or like on the screen.
But you fall in love with certain players.
Yes, but I still love the game. Like I still love the sport. And the same for me for running right now where I'm going to turn on the 1500, whatever, and just watch them go at it. It's super fun. I'm going to watch McLaughlin like crush the hurdles. Like there's just so much that I don't know.
And
it hasn't ruined it for me.
She's doing unprecedented things. What do you think about that, Matt?
Well, let me take this a different direction. So I kind of mentioned this earlier, but I did my fellowship at Kaiser Sunset, which is like the hub of Kaiser Southern California. I treated a lot of different people. And I treated a lot of different people that had been doing things in the 70s and 80s and were dealing with the consequences in ways that we as a medical team did not know what to do with. A lot of those people were bodybuilders that were juiced on all kinds of things. And the stuff that we saw their bodies go through, we don't have diagnoses to describe what was happening. And it was like cutting edge. And it was horrible. I saw the same thing with a lot of old track and field athletes of a variety of different areas that were still living in Southern California, not really running anymore, but dealing with some significant things that the only way we could make connections going, well, I guess that makes sense. If you take EPO for extensive periods, that you would start to see cancerous and these horrible changes. And a lot of them didn't live long. And when we saw them, they would have very horrible ends of life. So for anybody that happens to listen to this, and I don't know if elite runners listen to this. If you are thinking about this stuff, I really encourage you, please think long-term, because if you abuse this stuff, the end of life results, I would not wish that on anyone. Even my worst enemy.
Like also on the other side of things, one of the reasons why I am not lifetime is because they'll answer for their actions sooner or later as well. So
that's kind of why I'd like the lifetime thing, is hopefully it scares enough people to like maybe consider not doing it. But I know people are always going to do stuff, but please don't do that. It's really horrible.
Yeah. All right, let's move us forward. And now we're going to talk about
something
shoes.
Happier.
We're going to talk about shoes, which is much less consequential, right?
Yeah.
So here's the next buy or sell. Buy or sell, the market needs to lower the average stack height of shoes in this moment.
No.
So you sell that?
So what's the average stack of shoes? 40?
I'd say we're looking at 36. If I had to guess.
That's fine. Yeah, because it's an average. It's not all of them, right? So yeah, no, I'm a sell. There's enough options, high and low. The average is fine. They don't need to lower everything. Sorry, that's my overly simplistic answer to that.
No,
I'm actually totally on the same thing, that I'm a sell. That I think there's some really cool options, and I think. Originally, I was one of those people like, oh, be careful. Now I'm like, this is a really cool age to be in the running shoe. Yeah, let them cook. It's very cool. I have shoes of all different stack heights.
These different ways to make shoes different.
I really enjoy. I don't think one type of footwear is better than the other one. I think they're just different options now that are going to work for different people. And I think There's still minimal shoes out there. They're going to work really, really well for some people. There's these super stack height shoes that are going to work amazing for other people that they may not have been able to run otherwise. And so I'm all for, just the same way I'm for movement variability. People move in different ways, and that's okay, right? And having some options is not a bad thing. So sell.
Yeah, I'm also going to sell, but maybe for a slightly different reason. I can remember there's that one study, and I can't quote who it was. So if y'all remember, please let me know. But it kind of looked at minimalist shoes, maximalist shoes, and then those tweener shoes. And they used like the Nike Free as an example, and the Kivara. And they were not really a cushion shoe and not a minimalist shoe. And people's bodies didn't really know how to respond. So those were kind of like the dangerous zone. And so I think the fact that we're in a more extreme probably isn't the worst thing in the world. Now, Matt, you were talking about variability though, and there's actually another buy or sell that I'm going to bring up right now because I think it adds to this conversation, and also I have a slightly different take on it. So for the previous one, just to be clear, I sell that. I don't think we need to lower the average stack height. The next question is, buy or sell, there is less variety in the market now than over the past few years due to the high stack shoes.
Total sell on that. I think there's tons of variety now, and it's actually pretty solid. Maybe not as much variety in the lower stack regions, but like there's a lot of different shoes out there. So I'm a sell on that.
What about you, David?
There's no lightweight stability racing shoe.
You would bring that up.
That's fair. And that's my own personal like grump and gripe about that. But there's a lot of a large variety of things that still I would argue with you on that. No, it's true. And I will die on that hill. But having just shot the best stable neutral shoes, stable neutral racing shoes, there is still stuff that like almost qualifies that. And I think like looking at the racing stuff, there's a good amount of variety there, a good amount of training stuff, plenty of training shoes that are more stable neutral stuff than there was before, right? But we didn't have a lot of stable neutral stuff, 10, 15 years ago. It was pretty extreme and pretty similar with how things were done. Narrow midfoot, blah, blah, blah. I think there's a lot more variety. Do I still want a stability super racing shoe? Absolutely. But,
I think that the variety is lower than a few years ago. And
okay.
The reason why I say that is a little bit of recency bias, because I was writing, like I said, the Experience Flow 2 review, and we got to the point where it said similar shoes. And I was like, I can't think of any that are like this right now. And that could have just been an inability for me to think about it. But like the closest I could think of was the Topo Phantom 4. But what the Flow has is it's 32 and 28 for stack. It's got a really flexible forefoot. It's got a mildly soft foam, a good amount of flexibility. And I just think that that's rare in comparison to even like 3 or 4 years ago. There was a lot more like that. Like even, I was trying to think like maybe the Cumulus or something, but the Cumulus, even that forefoot is stiffer. So that doesn't really work. And there was a lot of shoes that just have lost forefoot flexibility because everything is so stacked. So yes, I agree there's variety, but it's all variety within maximalism. So you're looking at plated versus not plated. You're looking at like
the Wave Rider 29 is pretty flexible up front too.
Yeah, but they're not like this shoe, I guess.
That's fair.
They're higher drop. They even feel way more cushion than that because you've got like 39 in the heel. It's not like the.
Just kidding.
So I think that in some ways we've lost it because it's almost like everything is a Hoka now. I'm putting that in quotations because when Hoka came out, it was like, whoa, this is different. And now everyone is making a very high stacked, kind of wider base. And then because it's higher stacked and wider base, you usually have a little bit stiffer. So it has a rocker platform. Then they may add variety through stiffening agents and other things like that, type of foam. But I think the variety is within a smaller package than what it used to be, where you would have a lot in kind of the 20s, a lot in the 30s, and then you would get like a couple up in the 40s. But that's my take. So I buy that there's less variety.
David's the tiebreaker.
I'm a sell. Yeah, I'm a sell. I think are there more high stack options? Of course there are, right? Like anytime something's in, people are going to ride the crazy train a little bit. and they're just going to go along with it. Not that it's like actually crazy, but like that's like what's in, and people are going to roll with it. So there's going to be more options of that in general, but I think the variety is still there, right? You still have your Hyperions, you still have your Rebels, you still have your Wave Riders, like the highs drop, your Ghosts. What's that?
Rebels.
We don't have our Hyperion GTS anymore.
No,
so sad. Matt's so sad.
Yeah.
Do we have final confirmation on that? I mean, I feel like I've only ever seen that across like internet trolls. I haven't seen like a actual source tell me.
I thought they told us that Hyperion GTS was going to get discontinued. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Cool.
Sorry.
But like, there's other things out there, right? Like I don't know. There's the variety is still there. Maybe it's not like ginormous, but there's enough options in each category. I think someone can find something. Yeah. So I'm a sell.
Let me say this. I think that there's room for companies to fill right now. I think there are spaces that companies aren't putting shoes out in. And that doesn't mean that what's offered isn't filling a lot of needs. And I would say, like, from a patient-centered perspective, there's a ton more options right now to help with issues that people are having, again, as that final additive part of the rehabilitation. So I do find that good. All right, so let's move on to our next question. Buy or sell, 2024 was a better shoe year than 2025. So just to prime y'all, I looked up our top picks from all four of us three, and then Andrea, what our top picks were from last year. And Matt, you had like the Mach X2, the Adidas Agravic Speed. You had the Brooks Glycerin Max, Asics GT 2000, Super Blast 2. This was last year. The Paris version of all of the Metaspeed series from Asics came out. We had, let me see, Wave Rebellion Flash 2 came out. Andrea loved that one. Puma Mag Max. Endorphin Speed 4, Cielo X1, Cloud Boom Strike from On. There's a lot of different shoes that came out last year. So what do y'all think?
So
2025 is better?
2025 is not finished, my guy. We still got we've got some bangers for like the amount of time that we have. We have On Cloud Ultra Pro for the trail, easy trail shoe of the year right now for me. Metaspeed Edge Tokyo. Yeah, Metaspeed Edge Tokyo. Yep. I had to like I was tripping it up, but blew me away. 2 shoes right there. Massive. Blew me away. I think the daily trainers are a little closer. I really like On Cloud Surfer Max for daily miles. I really like the Saucony Ride 18. Actually, GT 2014, I actually did really like it today. I do think the Medial Wedge, I hope they don't go too much further because I'm scuffing it a little bit. I think when I get tired, but I think I do still like it. I still like it enough to where I think I'll probably still be logging a lot of miles on it. I think it's still been a good year. You know, you have Rebel 5, you have a couple of awesome options out there and a couple of things coming down the line, right? Like Brooks Hyperion Max 3 and like other shoes. And we're in July. Like I said, 2025 is not done, my guy. Like, to try and say 2024 is just better. Like, I think that'd be like looking at some nostalgic Hulkmania and being like, that was the event. That's better than all other events that come after it. And I don't think that's fair.
Well, just because I know you're kind of like coming at me, I also am selling this idea. I don't know what you want from me. But I've been living in that trainer world. And I think that this year there have been trainers that have come out that have just exceeded last year. So even when I look inline, like I think that the new ride from Saucony ups last year's ride from Saucony. If you look at the Clifton, they actually changed quite a bit between the 9 and the 10. And like the 10 is this kind of light, airy kind of feel to it. Whereas like the last one felt a little bit like more robust and a little bit more poppy. And I actually love the 9. I'm getting more miles on the 10 right now. I guess I could have talked about that for the info testing segment. And then the, Asics Metaspeed Tokyo series, I've only done like around the block in them, but they're really fun to run in. They've only advanced that line. So you've got some racing stuff there. I do think that there are some areas where it's closer to, just to keep going. Rebel version 5, I've loved. There's been other trainers, which is the space I've been living in, like the Phantom 4 And then I'm running in this Experience Flow 2. Those have all been really good, I think, for this year, and added some variety to the options. It's funny you brought up the, oh my gosh, what is it called? Cloud Surfer Max. I can't stand that shoe. I can't even wear it to work. I tried to wear it to work, and I'm like, this is the last day I'm wearing it. It's like,
I love it.
Too stiff and too firm, and like the upper is weird, like pushed on my heel awkward. The
High
toe
stack
box,
option for
like,
the firm boys.
oh, it's just not good. It's just really, and you also can't say that. But the toe box like tapers so much. The toe box tapers. I think that shoe has left a lot to be desired. There is a lot that they could do with the Cloud Surfer line, because the Cloud Surfer, like the original one with the first like phased kind of pods or clouds, sorry, that was a phenomenal shoe. It gave a whole new feel to On, and they could have like built that up, and they could have done something cool with it, but they just they just kind of moved the Cloud Eclipse into this line. And I think that it doesn't match what the line is up to. But anyway, I am also with you a sell, because I think 2025 has had a lot of really good shoes. Matt, what do you think?
I think I'll take over the trainer stability category. That I do think overall, so far, it's actually a sell. We've had some really great shoes, although we've lost like some stable neutral racing options, right? So the Endorphin Elite 2 is no longer stable. The Cielo X1 version 2 is no longer stable. So we kind of lost two of those. There's been some other like phenomenal training shoes that have been great, both from a stability and trainers. I think they're doing really, really, really good.
Rocket X3?
Perfect. Yeah, Rocket X3. I just did the race in yesterday. It's maybe not as light and fast as I want, but from the stable neutral category, phenomenal. Drops the weight, fixes the upper issue, and really, really good. Just still not durable at all.
Also, I feel like Hoka silently introduced an 8mm drop to some of their shoes,
across their whole line.
They did.
And it's one of
1000%
those
did.
where I think we had a conversation on a podcast a couple weeks ago. Where like, do we need to list specific stack measures? Maybe this is just when you two were on, or is it more about like low, middle, high stack? And I think that there's something to that, because the running experience doesn't really change if the drop is 6 to 7 at a static measurement of drop, So I think that there's something to that. But with having the X3, and I haven't done a lot of running in it, I could not run in the Rocket X2 because it felt like a negative drop. This one doesn't anymore because they brought me out of that kind of dropped position because of how compliant it is in the heel. So massive update improvement. Just need that durability better. But just the training shoes that are coming out, I think, are better, or at least more exciting. And then my big one, the new Keanu, is just great. It's like my favorite shoe. Matt, try it again. Yeah. What is it?
Sorry, Peter. Wait, no, I said it.
You said Keanu.
I said Keanu.
It's not Keanu either. It's Kayano.
Kayano.
No, not Ka. Not Ka. Kayano.
How do you say it?
Kayano.
That was not on the thing that Peter sent me. Kayano.
The Kayano.
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 That's
too close to Keanu. Peter, help me.
All right, we're gonna move on. So
also,
the next
Solomon shoes this year.
Heck yeah. They have
big step up.
Bomb. Yeah.
Huge step up. They've entered the ring for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to our next one. This is buy or sell. People are not running slow enough. What I love about this question before this prompt is because our social media manager, he's going to hate that I'm saying his name on air, but his name is Bakfam. Incredibly wonderful person to work with and hilarious. He always just tells us all the time we're running too fast. Like, everyone needs to be running 12-minute miles. This is my words, not his, but his sentiment. Everyone needs to be running 12-minute miles, 14-minute miles. Like, y'all are running too fast. That's why you get hurt. Follow my plan, run slow. You're never going to get hurt. It's kind of the ongoing joke. So he is the one who put this prompt in here, and that's the space that it's coming from. But there's also some legitimacy to this conversation. Buy or sell.
And the actual question, so people are not running slow enough.
Correct.
Buy. Yeah.
I buy it too.
Okay.
Because I think when you look at more the novice population, especially now, I think running is starting to boom again. I think it's like this might be the most I've ever seen people running in my lifetime. And I feel like this might be comparable to kind of like the big boom in like the 80s, 90s when like Nike was coming around and some of those shoes are coming. But a lot of people don't really know how to control their paces very well. I like have a couple of examples from people that I've known, you know, where they're like, oh yeah, like I just went for a run and I PR'd in this distance. And you hear that pretty frequently, you know, especially amongst people who are like not like very seasoned at things. And then I would also say, as you get faster and faster, a lot of people aren't running slow enough to truly be easy either. Like they can run 6-minute pace, so they are, and they feel light and airy doing it. They don't want to run 7:30 to 8-minute pace. You know what I mean? Like, because it just feels like it takes forever. So I think in both ends of the spectrum, you have a lot of people that just aren't slowing down and really running easy. So I'm a buy on that. I think, there's still a handful of people that are, you know, but I think there's enough people to where I would probably say most people should probably be running slower.
Yeah, I buy as well. I think it depends on who you're looking at and what kind of group. But when you're looking at what most runners are, which is recreational runners, and this is an anecdote just from clinic work because I still run the running clinic with students. And the number of times we have a runner who comes in who is not a cross-country runner on the team at the university, you know, we ask them how long they've been running, what kind of pacing they do, and then just kind of ask them, how do you usually feel at the end of your runs? That's a question that we may ask them. And they always say like, oh yeah, I'm wiped, just feeling so tired. And even if we don't talk about like heart rate zones and all that like complicated stuff, in running, we shouldn't feel wiped all the time. And especially when you're brand new, like the number of times where I take people and move them from like, they just started running like 3 weeks ago and they're always going on 3 to 4 mile runs and they've never done anything like this before. I bring them back down to a run walk and we talk about it and then it makes sense for them. And then they get there and they learn through a run walk how you should feel at the end of a run. And I also, this is like banging on a little bit of a drum for me or a little bit of a soapbox. I think that's the value of time-based running instead of mileage-based running, because if you start to think I need to run 5 miles today, but you have to slow your pace down, that does increase your time that you're going to have to be out there. And I think it's more important to give your body the stimulus that it needs versus reaching a certain number of miles. At some point, your mileage and your time is going to come together because you're going to like estimate that correctly. But in the beginning, we don't really know how hard running is for us until we've had a lot of training. So it's like, I've got 30 minutes to run today. So I'm going to do my training based on these 30 minutes. So yeah, I think most people probably could also slow down. Matt, what do you think?
I have another buy sell after Klein goes.
Sure.
I'm just going to be controversial, and Nathan, I 1,000% agree with you, having done the same thing in clinic all the time. I'm going to do a sell, though, because I think across the board saying that people just need to slow down isn't necessarily correct, but you need to be able to periodize your training, meaning that your easy runs, your main runs, need to be a little bit slower. But you should have some kind of faster ones. Like you should have variety in your week or your 2-week cycle. You should not have the same type of run at the same pace on the same like you shouldn't be all the same. I understand why that some people might do that, but I'd encourage you not to do that. I would encourage you to have one run that's faster, that you go faster one day, and one run that you run slower. But to say you need to run slower all the time, I would say the better thing to say is you need more variety in your training. Nathan, you okay?
It does not say people need to run slower all the time. It says people are not running slow enough. No, it's a really good point you bring up.
I'm still sticking with that.
No, I like that's a really good part of the conversation.
Yeah. I would say it's not that people aren't running slow enough. They don't have enough variety in their weekly or bi-weekly paces. And the reason I say bi-weekly is there are some people that are transitioning to 2-week training like phases where instead of just trying to pack in everything the week, it's spread out a little bit more. But just slowing down for the sake of slowing down, there are some people that definitely need to do that, like newer runners that don't know how to control the pace for sure. But I think you need more variation in your training schedule and a greater variety of paces not necessarily slower. Some of the days definitely need to be slower. But if you run things well enough, you're not going to be able to run faster on your easy runs. And I tell you that if you want to run slower, go push the stroller. Good luck running faster than like 8-9 minute pace on easy runs, because that's where I am.
What was your next question,
I'm glad that
David?
you said that. Yeah, because it was a pivot off of that, because when I hear this question, I assume easy days, right? And if they are training, I kind of brought that up with like the faster crowd. A lot of times they should probably slow down too, because they got to go fast on another day, right? There's a point and a goal to every day if you are training for something and you are periodizing and doing things. My next one is people are not running fast enough on their workout days for hitting their race goals. It got quiet.
Yeah, it did. I have to think about that side of the coin.
Should I go?
Yeah, you go first.
That's a good question.
I think I'm actually a buy. And the reason why is, like, when we look at a lot of marathon training or half marathon training, a lot of people are working out in super shoes. They're tuning the paces. They're getting used to doing things, but they're not pushing that needle to actually go faster, right? Where it's like, in order to go faster, you have to run faster, right? Like, you do got to train that stimulus at some point or another. And I think a lot of people aren't pushing that needle enough when they're supposed to, or they are, and they're not going slow enough on those other days.
Correct.
And they're just not recovering, right? Like, and then you kind of get this double-edged sword where they kind of feed off each other. But I do think in most situations, people are like, let me just get to race pace and feel okay there. But they don't really go faster than that. But the honest truth is, a large majority of the races are not going to be perfectly paced, right? You're going to go out hot. You're going to go slow. You're going to have some surges. You have to be able to run a couple of different paces, even within a fast pace. Like, you have to be able to run plus or minus 10 seconds of any given pace at any given time in a race and be able to switch it up. And I would even say that on like a track 5K, where that's usually still pretty, like, people pace that out pretty well, but like, there's going to be some pretty large swings. It just happens. Someone doesn't want the lead. It slows down. There's a little bit of, then everyone runs like a 72, and then everyone's like, what the heck? And then someone goes and runs a 69, right? And then just like, things can go crazy very quickly. I'm gonna buy as well. Just when I'm thinking about some of the runners that I've worked with before, I've like worked with them, a lot of their speed days were like just running goal race pace for like a half marathon or a marathon. So they won't actually do efforts that change the system in a way that you actually have to run significantly faster than race pace, your anticipated race pace. So their speed days are just slow. And then they'll just try to run their easy days at race pace too. And so it ends up being like this, like you said, easy days too fast, fast days too slow. And instead it should be slower on those days and then really kick it on those other ones, depending on what the workout is. You start, or you don't hit your splits, right? Where like your fast days aren't fast enough because you're not recovering.
Right.
And now you're just frustrated.
Right.
Which is a lot of people too.
Yep.
I'm going to agree I'm going to go back to what I said, that a variety is really important. I think, Nathan, that's really key. There's a lot of people that will work out at basically the same pace. And David, you said the same thing. They're just shooting for race pace. And that's not how your body works. It's like there are different physiological systems that you need to work. And honestly, one of the ones that I feel like a lot of people don't hit, and maybe that's because of the population I work with, is getting down into that, like those fast, like 150, 200s, really building the ability to generate power and speed. And people stick with the higher reps, and it's like you never learn to turn over. And especially from a musculoskeletal change perspective, those things tend to make some significant changes. Totally. Some of the longer reps are there's musculoskeletal change, but a lot more of that's going to be affecting your cardiovascular system and other components. But like getting back to generating like short, steep hill repeats, real short, fast stuff, you need to do it all the time. But I think it is really important to have as part of a really like safely a part of not just a good training program, but also a good like aging while training program to go, you know what, here's the things that change as we get older. I just need to make sure I have this and don't lose it, because then when I do need it, I will get injured. It's like, how do I like keep this component there? So again, the right variety I think is key, but I think a lot of runners don't touch that high, like that sprint, like going, how do I turn over The other thing I would say is that I think effort is more important than pace. I think people don't know how to really gauge effort, like what's really hard versus, oh, let me look at my watch. I'm wearing my super shoe and I hit my pace. So I'm just going to go like cruise this in to go, how do I grind? And I think there's plenty of people out there, but learning different efforts, I think, is more important than different paces, because a watch can be wrong, but learning what you feel is really important, can be more accurate.
Not on a track.
Fair.
All
Unless
right,
the track is wrong.
I'm sorry. I need to chill.
Yeah.
we're gonna move on to our next one.
Yeah.
And this next one is buy or sell. Nike has lost its edge in running innovation.
I'm gonna say sell.
Okay.
Why so?
But my reason's a little bit different. I think if you look strictly at the racing models, they're not looking into the other materials as much. They probably are, but like you see a lot of other companies experimenting with different foams and geometries and trying to be quote unquote innovative. But we do see Nike making a lot of big changes in their training models, which is where they were getting a lot of flack anyways in the previous years, where people weren't really running in Nike trainers anymore. I mean, there were people running in them, but like I feel like when people brought up like, oh, what are good running shoes, people weren't saying Nike that often, just in terms of the general masses. But performance, they were always on the top, right? So I think they just kind of shifted their efforts a little bit. And maybe on the racing side of things, they're still good. Maybe they're not innovating quite as aggressively in that category right now. I'm going to say that, and someone's going to be behind the scenes, like cooking up the craziest thing I've ever seen. I promise you that. But like, but I think in the training line of things, like we're seeing it. They're playing around with air zoom. They're playing around with dual densities, tall, high, narrow, wide. They're playing around with stuff. So I won't say that they lost their edge on innovation.
I'm going to also say sell, and part of it's because no one has, save one company, and I'll bring that up in a second, no one has really come and done something remarkably new or different as what Nike has done to disrupt the market from I'm thinking mostly about performance as well. And part of the reality is that we are not privy to what is happening, because what they're working on, what's coming out now, they worked on 3 years ago, you know?
Of course.
So
that's why I made the lab comment.
Exactly. Like we are so not aware, like unless you're in one of those labs, what's actually being worked on and what the innovations really are. So it's kind of hard to answer this question for real. But I think that there haven't been any companies that have come out with things that disrupted the market in the way that like the Vaporfly did, which for me still gives the edge there. And I'd love to hear what other people think. The one company that has me at pause is actually Puma from a performance standpoint, because they're coming out with new foam and like the extended. Yeah, did you try it? Has anyone on our team tried? Did you get to, right? You and maybe. Andrea?
And for the Fast R?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it. Yeah,
like
Andrea and I
the
have
newest,
it. Yeah.
the newest one with the extended, extended toe plate.
So much better than the extended toe plate version 2. But yes, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that there's just nothing to totally dethrone them from that standpoint. I'm not saying that they make the best shoes or even the best racing shoes. That's not my point. I'm just saying innovation. Yeah. Matt, what do you think?
Well, I don't work for Nike. I just happen to see things in Sherwood, Beaverton, and all over. And I will tell you, they're cooking. I will say I wasn't the biggest fan of the Vaporfly 4, but a lot of people like that shoe, which is fair. But I will say that's a shoe that's 3 or 4 years old, right? So what I've seen cooking, I'm excited for, but I'm also excited for everybody else too. So I don't think they've lost their edge. I think what I'm most proud of them for is getting their training line back. I think things are really turning around.
Awesome trainers right
really come. Yeah, I worked in running stores in the days where people were like, we may not be carrying Nike trainers anymore. And I think that's turning around, and they've done a really, really good job. So edgewise, I don't think that they've lost it. But I do think it's a lot harder now because a lot of people are cooking really well. So that's why, like I said, 2025, 2020, hopefully 2026.
Let them cook.
Yeah, we have been using language that we just never use, y'all, in this episode.
That was David's fault. He said that first.
Slaps, like that's just not how we speak.
But I didn't say slap. He said slap.
I said slap
after he said slap.
Yeah,
you said it ironically.
I didn't say it. I meant like literally, like physically slapping.
But then you brought it up. You brought it up.
And I just clarified, it was not meaning like this is great. Like slaps.
All right.
How does that mean good? I don't like, it's like, oh, it's like
slap on the base. Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I picture it.
Got it. Like smacked across the face. I'm like, I don't like that.
I don't think that's what it means.
Okay. Anyway.
But we could be wrong. Anyway, we got one more. We've got one more for the evening. I have multiple left. I'm going to leave it up, David. You got to tell me which direction to go.
Oh,
okay.
We're either going to go shoe direction, race direction, or injury pain direction.
Shoe direction, race direction, or injury direction. Race direction, because I want to bring up the PED stuff again.
Okay.
We talked about all this stuff. We did shoes, and we should do injuries, but all right, fine. Go
all right,
no,
so
boring.
We might get
we
to
talk injuries all day, every day.
Buy or sell.
Okay.
The 800 is harder than the mile.
Oh, man. I regret my decision.
I'll start.
I regret my decision.
Should have listened to me.
As someone who has never raced the 800 and as someone who only raced the mile in like 5th grade PE or whatever, I would definitely say the 800 is harder, which means I buy this one. But actually, the reason I buy it is more like physiologically than it is anything to do with any experience. So I'm just going to say it for that. But when you look at like systems used, like the 800 puts you right on that fine line between aerobic and anaerobic. So it's like you use everything in both systems for an 800 basically. And you're like trying to teeter on the edge of like getting through. And that's why it's just so hard to like finish that second lap and like really negative split really, really well sometimes. So especially for less experienced runners. So I think systems wise, physiologically 800 is harder, which is why I buy it.
Yeah, I think the 800 is physically harder. I do agree with that. I feel like it's one of the few races where you see people's bodies truly shut down, where it's not a mental lapse, where they are literally hitting a wall and they physically cannot go any faster than what they're going. But I will say from a psychological standpoint, it's almost easier in that it's only 2 laps. And if you're an experienced 800 runner, that first lap always feels pretty good. You know, unless you're coming off the mile, and then in that case, it's awful. Or 1500 in most cases. But you're going to come around not feeling that bad. You just have to mentally prepare for like 200 to 300 meters of just absolute carnage. But like you can kind of suffer your way through that, and it's over so quick that like I think the physical pain is probably worse than the emotional pain in that situation. But sometimes in the mile, you get those head games of like, can I actually hold this? We went out pretty hot. Like you're going just slow enough to where you can start having those thoughts, right? You start hearing the splits. You get 2 laps in. You're like, I got to attack this 3rd lap, but do I have anything for the 4th? Like that's where you can kind of see different mind games and strategies and stuff. But I do think the 800 is physically harder to be on that. Like you said, you're on that line the entire time. I mean, even if you watch an evenly split elite 800, let's say they go and run 142, that's 251s. Like that is cooking, man. Like that is going fast. And those guys can run, probably 47, 46 in the open 4, but like 51 is still hot for them, right? Like they're going out hard and then they're gonna have to do it again. And I think that last 200 to 300 from a physical standpoint is just so awful. Having run both events, I'm better at the mile, but I don't think it's easier. It's easier for me, I guess. Sorry, I didn't say that correctly. 800 is harder.
Nice. Matt, what do you got?
I'd rather run a 1500 mile than an 800.
So you're buying it?
Yeah.
That the 800's harder?
Yep.
Nice. Very cool. Well, that is all the time we have for today. So we have other buy or sells that we can always come back to in the future. I'm going to throw this one out there for the audience. We are not going to discuss it right now, but you can talk about it below. But it was the use of Advil for running pain. So that is your buy or sell to chat about. And maybe in the future, when we come back to buy or sell, we'll give our thoughts. But thank you all for joining, and we will talk to you all next time.